Like a lot of these people that voted for Trump, I feel like they're denying shit and they're pretending like racism gone and like history started a couple of years ago, and they're pretending that those policies don't hurt the people that they claim to protect. You cannot fix a problem that you refuse to admit exists.
That's what you're doing.
No, I'm not. That's what you're doing.
Patty, it's them and it's us. I think there's a part of the group that says it's only them. There's another group that says it's only us.
Well, I want somebody else to talk because I'm arguing something and maybe it's just me, and that's just my brain. That's just Patty's brain.
All right, block
that's what I took from it. Now, somebody else may have took something else from it, but that's just what I take from it. You can make your statement. Somebody can defute it. They can fight with you. I'm not going to fight with you.
I could tell you how this is a different indicator of a systemic issue, but I'm going to leave that one alone. What you don't understand, Patty, is what I say goes. It's not what you say. It's what I say. I am the HNIC.
Right, the patriarchy that has failed you black men.
What would you rather, a matriarchy?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay then. So one of us got to be the boss. One of us got to wear the pants and get the big piece of chicken.
Well, one thing I want to ask Sean is like, do y'all feel like, so like with America, like what's going on now? I feel like sometimes that there is a fear to examine what has happened. And when you have that fear, like, I know it might be an exaggeration, but like, is there a doom?
Patty, I'm looking at this chat.
Right now, like, it seems like people, like even with Florida, when they're saying they're banning teaching this, teaching that, like, are we too fragile to teach the truth about slavery or police violence? The problem isn't going to be the truth. It's like, now it seems like it's a system that can't survive honesty.
Patty, that's what I'm saying. You're repeating my talking point, but you're only looking at them, and I'm looking at you. You're looking at them. Can't you handle the truth? I'm looking at you. Can't you handle the truth?
Hysteria. I'm looking at like the attacks on Black history. Maybe we're saying the same thing, and you're not listening to what I'm trying to say.
No, you're being very myopic in your analysis.
Okay, you got it.
You're saying, why can't they acknowledge the truth? I'm saying to you, why can't you acknowledge the truth?
If somebody want to fight with you, they're gonna fight with you. Let me shut.
Whatever. I'm looking at the chat, and they have gone into personal attacks because I'm saying it's both of us. That there's a segment of the Black community that we are ignoring that has lost their vigilance in this fight against white supremacy. They have become complacent. They have become wayward, lascivious, derelict in their duties as Negroes. And y'all want to hate on me because I'm fucking speaking the truth. And I know it's uncomfortable and I know it's unpopular, but I'm not going to fucking stop speaking the truth because niggas get upset and want to be in the chat calling me lowly and what else? Lascivious.
When has that population been, you said they're being ignored. when did they start getting ignored? I've never heard that population being ignored.
As soon as you mention it and everyone starts throwing stones at you.
Oh,
Instead of us having an agreement and saying, yes, there is that population, what do we do about it? And what I think we should do about it, is go after the FCC, right? Because if other people had this type of element within their community, they would root it out. They would take every measure possible to silence this
you say go after the
virus,
FCC?
right? Yeah, FCC. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Federal Communication Commission.
What do you mean go after? I don't know what you mean. Explain.
Stop. Well, I am of a experience where you had certain things that was only after hours, right? And then over time, I saw how those after hour type of entertainment became more normalized. And I think that the Federal Communication Commission is in charge of what is being broadcast against federal airwaves, and we could have some sort of input on what we, want to have broadcasts across fucking children during fucking going to school radio. When you're driving and you hear "Eat my booty like groceries," you're like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, I think there's things we could do.
So some music. I didn't quite understand the we're being ignored part. So
I gotta take a phone call, not to ignore you. I gotta take a phone.
Oh, that's okay.
I was trying to follow y'all for a moment. I don't know what y'all talking about, and I've been here for like 5 minutes.
It could take longer, Glenn. Sometimes 5 minutes is not enough to catch on to a convo that's now been going on for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, it took me 20 years, MAGA.
It could take some time to catch on to a convo.
You know what, MAGA? It took me 20 years. My mom played it the first time when I was a little girl, right? But I told y'all it was only the two white men speaking on what the debate would have been. And I just listened to it and was like, okay. And she explained it, and I was like, okay. And then I went outside and played. Then maybe junior high, I listened to it again. And it was only the two white men because she had the conversation with me. And then, okay, it makes a little bit more sense. But I didn't understand the argument. And then in high school, I decided during Black History Month, because I got tired of hearing about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, that I try to use that debate as something to write about. And then even my understanding then wasn't even enough. Then in in college, I decided I'm going to listen to this again because I wrote about it, because I wanted to be something special at school and talk about something other than Martin Luther King. And I wanted to talk about James Baldwin and this Buckley situation. And it's like you're understanding. It took me 20 years. 20 years. Where some of y'all in this room are only listening to it for the first time. And that's why, like, yesterday I was like, fuck, maybe I should bring it up. No, I'm not going to bring it up because it may not be interesting to other people. And it's only because maybe it's something that had to be put in my head to understand. Like how relevant it is when you talk about MAGA. Baldwin said, I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. MAGA says, I support law and order. But they defend insurrectionists. What happened January 6th?
How are you getting this out of the video?
I just I'm so extra. It's like I just seen so much. I read so much when it comes to this, or had to listen to this for over 20 years. It's like I just try to put it into context when like people talk in this room. Like the GOP hypocrisy, the January 6th defenders, these anti-DEI fucking conversations.
But I don't think Buckley would have defended. I think Buckley would have found. Well, I don't know what he would have thought about. Well, he would have loathed Trump personally. I don't know what he would have thought about his takeover and with it. But I don't think
got from Baldwin when he says, I can't believe what you're saying because I see what you do. Like, that's something that I have on my, you know how you do your emails to certain people? That's one of my quotes.
Well, I think what we don't know in general is even how people would have responded with Nixon if you put in modern Fox News, Newsmax, and the social media ecosystem, right? How many people would not have been as bold and spoken out against Nixon? Would Nixon have not been forced to resign? So I think that's a difficulty in trying to measure the behavior and tone then versus today.
I have a question for you.
Oh, go ahead, Frank.
And a comment. I don't read James Baldwin's submission during the debate as a critique targeting the right at all. It was not partisan. He was attacking ideas, beliefs, and practices that folks on both sides of the political aisle engaged in at the time, beliefs that they held and practices that they engaged in at the time, because the historical realities of the period were such that folks on both sides were implicated. We're talking about early 1965. Brown versus Board of Education was decided in 1954. 10 years after that, the schools were still not sufficiently desegregated because white people in power just did not have the goodwill to do what they needed to do, which is why the Supreme Court had to decide Brown again. Well, not really, but they had a second case called Brown 2. He also knew that despite the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Black people were still experiencing racial discrimination in various spheres of society, and there was voting rights discrimination that was going on as well, which is why he expressed pessimism over the efficacy of the Voting Rights Act, which would be passed later on that year. My question to you, Miso, is this. You said in the room chat that James Baldwin would have been critical of DEI. Now, are you saying that he would have been critical of DEI's objectives, DEI's justifications, or DEI's implementation? That's what I'd like to know.
I think he would have been critical of it because it's too small, and it speaks to a set of oftentimes corporate, but not always, steps for trying to deal with a larger fundamental philosophical problem with the American project by having people in certain positions that by their presence, by sort of cultural objects and nearness, the race problem could be solved. I think he would, maybe, I don't know about DEI per se, but I think he would be disillusioned by the tears and maybe not tears, but the outcries in favor of DEI, because it's a small solution to an historical problem.
Okay, so
I think he would have found it insufficient.
Solution, you seem to be focusing on the way it's been implemented.
No, Baldwin wanted the entire country to be reconstructed.
Understood.
So DEI does not reconstruct the country. So he critiqued everything that was incremental.
Okay.
I mean, generally, he wouldn't have cared if people. Yeah, he wouldn't have cared if people were in college or work or whatever. But he would say, "This is America doing America's thing and feeling good about it."
Do you recall what his immediate reaction to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was? I don't know. So.
Yeah, it's intimated. He intimates at it in the thing. He argues that we wouldn't have needed one if the one from 57 in 1866 and 1868 and so forth, if people lived it. He said the problem, he basically had a critique of law. He thought law was insufficient because law doesn't change men's minds and hearts and desires. And for him, that was fundamental. He was an existentialist.
Okay, so
not jurisprudential.
So I understand that. But is it possible to acknowledge that the existence of such laws means that there's something wrong with society that needs to be fixed, and to also acknowledge that having the laws is better than not having them at all.
And didn't he say, MAGA,
Maybe
that bill was going to save the country?
I don't think so. I don't.
I'm going to.
Not at all. Baldwin didn't really talk about law and policy like that. He never talks about law. Like ever. It's not his thing. He was a philosopher. He believed in fundamental first principles. Like for him, law is too above ground. But I'm trying to make some iterate. Give me a second.
Go ahead, brother. That's why I wanted you here, because like I need somebody to hit me in my head, because it's like I have. Let me look at it.
And in that, that's why he hits Bobby Kennedy so hard.
Yeah, he did. And you know what? He made the best prediction. Did y'all hear what he said? 40 years. He was 3 years off, but he said 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, King said the same thing. A lot of people, but the reason why he was upset with Bobby Kennedy was because remember Baldwin. Well, maybe I shouldn't say remember, but Baldwin, Hansberry, and I don't know if Hansberry was there, but a bunch of black leaders, Harry Belafonte and others, in '63, they met with him while he was AG, and they were disenchanted by the Kennedy administration and the Kennedys' take on civil rights. And so he was still smarting from that. But I have to do something. You guys do.
Oh, so remind me. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. If I recall correctly, the main problem with Robert Kennedy's position on civil rights was that he wanted things to move too slowly, and the advocates who met with him wanted them to move more quickly. Is that right, Nisa?
Yeah. And they wanted a wholesale sort of reconstitution of the restructuring of the United States. That the whole thing needed to be blown up in particular kinds of ways. A good book on this, is Eddie Glaude's book on. He goes through Baldwin pretty good. People want to look at sort of Baldwin's American society.
Can you repeat that, please? I'll put it in the
more
chat.
Recent book, Eddie Glaude book. I can't put it in the chat. My hands are full.
What is it?
Google Eddie Glaude, James Bond.
Right now, I do want. So I want to look at The Fire Upon Us, and I want us to use that as our Saturday book, because right at this point, I don't give a fuck about Virginia Gulfrey. So I think that Fire Upon Us, I listened to it last night when I got off the app because of this stupid shit that was going on in the room. And that is a really good book. So this morning I was like, yeah, we're going to hear this shit. And I want all y'all in the room to hear this debate because I want to use that book. And I'm not asking for a vote. That's going to be our book. So if y'all show up, you show up. If there's just 10 of us, I just want us to have an understanding. But right now, it's a good read for Patty, or even a good listen. And thank you for the recommendation, MAGA, to this break. Okay, so I did Google, not Google, I went to Twitter.
Yuck.
I went to Twitter and used Gronk, so shut up. And I put down, my question was, what was Baldwin's immediate reaction to the Civil Rights Bill? And I put, quote, he said something about a bill that saves the country. And it actually has the bill, or not bill, actually says, quote, "It is not a bill that saves the country." Right after its passage, Baldwin said publicly that legislation alone could not fix the deep moral problem of racism in America. "What I am worried about," and this is quotes, "what I am worried about," and this is an interview in 1964, "what I am worried about is not the Civil Rights Bill, but the state of the country." And for me, that's more like, and this is just Patty, and I don't know what y'all take from it. Like, what I'm worried about is not the Civil Rights Bill, but the state of the country. Like a bill that's going to fix a symptom, but it doesn't address like what the sickness is in America. Like denying Black humanity.
Hey. Put those on the tree or do something else. Hey Pat. The other one is I think it's called Begin Again. Let me see if I can find it.
And this is Baldwin? Or is this Begin Again?
No, this is the Glaude book I was saying. It's called Begin Again.
And this is about what? Because I need to put that in my notes. About Baldwin. Mm-hmm. That's what I was asking. Is it Baldwin? About Baldwin. I know it's not Baldwin, but it's about. Begin Again. Is it, it says here, is inspired by Eddie S. Gould Jr., 2020 book, Begin Again.
You wrote it.
Baldwin's America and its urgent lessons for our own. You know how Audibles have their.
Did you see the
His emotional world and why he remains a blueprint for understanding race, democracy, and American failure. That book.
Did y'all see the breaking news that Allred just dropped out and he's running in Texas's 33rd congressional district, and now it's going to be a two-way between Crockett and Chilerico? She ain't even officially announced yet, but she about to win the damn primary. We done lost the damn Texas seat before we even had a shot to win it. I just want to say congratulations to all the Jasmine Crockett fans. Y'all are up for the next, what's it going to be, a couple months? And then it's over.
Yeah, that's breaking news. And let's go back to Baldwin. Like, I really think maybe y'all need to listen to this again because it took me 20 years.
Why are you saying it took you 20 years? What are you saying?
Because it's like pieces and pieces. It took me a long time. It didn't take me 20 years, but it took me a long time to understand what I was supposed to be understanding, just for me. And I might not understand it fully. But how I take it, or even trying to use it, and what's going on in this country now.
Well, I mean, one of the keys to understanding it, starting with the question that was under debate, and one thing that we haven't talked about at all yet, was the question was about the American dream. So one place to start, I think, would be what was the conception of the American dream in 1965? Because that's what they're responding to. They're actually responding. It's actually I shouldn't use that word. It's actually beyond political ideology or party or voting or law. They're talking about the American dream. And so, like, what was the conception of the American dream in mainstream discourse as an ideal and the sort of kind of a romance of America? And then what was it from the perspective of the Negro, the boy that Baldwin provocatively imagines in the barbershop in Harlem? That might be, I think that's, if people are interested in kind of understanding it, it's a formal debate. So they're dealing with the question. And one of the reasons why Buckley is so performs so poorly, notwithstanding his deep rhetorical gifts and intellectual aplomb, is that he is very driven by rhetoric. Now, to be fair, Baldwin gets into a lot of rhetoric too. There's a lot of fluff in there on both sides. One of the things about the debate is that one of the reasons why contemporary audience like Baldwin was because his rhetoric, quote, hits more than Buckley's does. Nevertheless, the point is that what was the conception of the American dream in 1965? And one of the things that I don't think either of them deal with is that I don't know if there was a conception of the American dream in 1965. Because 1965 America was on fire. X was assassinated. Kennedy had been assassinated 2 years before. The Vietnam War was an issue. Cities are buckling. There's all kinds of political realignment in terms of Dixiecrats turning into Republicans. It's just a lot going on in 1965. The Civil Rights Movement, of course, you're in the midst of the Cold War, so you're having nuclear fallout drills. Like, I think one thing that's fascinating is how do they define the American dream? How do we understand the American dream in 1965? But I don't want to talk too much.
I don't know, maybe because Baldwin's black, I just listen to him talking about the dream being built on black exploitation. How white folks protected it. And they can't survive without the truth. That's how I took it. And maybe I don't know. He wasn't able to he wasn't able to connect sexuality, or I don't know. Because what he didn't do is and say what you want, but one thing about Baldwin, I think at that time, because it wasn't cool, or it wasn't it could have put him in a position where people wouldn't be able to hear. I think that he kept his queerness out of public confrontation, especially when it came to this argument with Buckley, because I don't feel like the world was ready. And during that time, I think homosexuality criminalized, and homosexuality could have been undermined when it came to that debate.
They didn't talk about homosexuality.
No, but I think that's something, when you brought up the question what he didn't deal with at the time. And he didn't deal with LGBTQ rights. He kept his shit silent. He was
Wait, he did what you say? What'd you say he did?
I felt like he kept his queerness in silence on this debate, because everybody knew he was openly bi at the time. But in that debate, he never connected, he didn't connect racism and sexuality.
Because for him, there was no connection. I mean,
I feel like, like I said, his credibility would have been like shot.
He couldn't publicly share his position without exposing himself, or at least.
What are you talking about? Baldwin was openly gay. Be quiet.
He was open.
You don't know anything about James Baldwin or sexuality.
He was open.
In a public debate.
Yes,
But
he did
he
it in
avoided
public
the topic.
debates all the time. Be quiet. You don't know anything about James Baldwin.
Yeah. He was straight up open. Like everybody knew he was bisexual at that time. But even during the debate, I think he avoided that topic.
Yeah, I guess I am lost, Josh.
Why do you think he should have brought it up? Fan X or whatever your name is. Why?
I mean, in a debate, in a public discourse, you bring up everything you need to and stand on it.
Do you know what the question was? The question presented. Do you know what the question presented was?
Why he did not create the intersectionality.
No, the question of the debate.
No, the last question that I listened to maybe 60 seconds ago.
No. So what MAGA asked us, what MAGA said that
participating if you didn't listen to it. Man, you guys ruin combos, bro. Do you know what they were debating at Cambridge Union, sir? Is what he's asking. Do you know what the question on the floor was? Fan, do you know what the question on the floor was?
Wait, Josh, did you not notice that I arrived late? Did you not look at the chat?
And then if you arrive late, this is where you belong. How about this? If you arrived late, right? So if you arrived late and you don't know the context of the conversation, what do you think an intelligent person would do?
Listen to the last question from the top mod.
No.
Wrong.
listen to the entire.
They would stay in the audience and understand what's going on, and that's where you'll stay until you understand what's going on. Not listen to the last question. You don't come into a conversation and hear the last question and think that's what the conversation is about.
So, MAGA, when you asked the question what they didn't deal with, you asked the question, or you said that both of them didn't, something about what they didn't deal with at the time. And that's why I brought up LGBTQ, because one thing about him, he was open, right? He was an open bisexual. But
that wasn't, but what does that have to do with the question of the American dream and the Negro? It's not germane to the debate. The question was about the relationship between the Negro and the American dream. I mean, and also their conception of LGBT rights, so-called, is not what we. It was a whole different. It was not a. Yeah, it was just different.
But you said what they didn't deal with at the time.
All right.
And when you brought that up, I just said, that's what I felt like he didn't deal with, especially when it was open. He was an open bisexual. I didn't feel like he connected racism and sexuality.
Because there was nothing to connect in the question. What would the connection be?
Because sometimes I feel like even within our community, and this is just us being Black people, that we ignore that there are Black bisexuals or Black LGBTQ members that are ignored even within our own community. Like, I hear shit from Black people, and it's like they don't include our community, that community, as part of. I don't know.
I mean, if the question presented had been, has the American dream been achieved at the expense of the Negro and queer people, then maybe James Baldwin's sexual orientation and the general experience of queer people might have been relevant. But the question was very specific. We recognize that there's an American dream. White people like to talk about it all the time, and they like to say that it's available to everyone. James Baldwin disagreed with that, and James Baldwin actually said